Hello! This video will explain the concept of Realpolitik and how Otto von Bismarck is a clear example of this practice. Then, we will compare the term with the politics of Donald Trump today.
But what is Realpolitik?
According to Douglas Johnson, Realpolitik is the practice of power politics based on a tough-minded, realist view of the political, economic, and security factors that dominate any given situation. The state's interests rise above ideology, ethics, and idealism, and power is seen as a central engine of interaction between and inside the states. Realpolitik, for many scholars, is correlated with a pessimistic view of international order, which is based on the balance of power. For others, instead, Realpolitik rhymes with pragmatism. Let's look at the first traces of Realpolitik. Even if the proper theory developed in the 20th century, many consider Thucydides to be the precursor of Realpolitik. Thucydides was an author who lived in Greece 400 years before our Common Era. In his Peloponnesian War, the Greek author explains the war between Athens and Sparta. The story explains the idea of the survival of the fittest, which is very close to Realpolitik. The Melian dialogue, a part of his work, narrates the interaction between the Athenians and the Melians, in which the latter refused to surrender in the name of dignity. The Athenians' power finally leads to the conquest of the Isle of Melos. Let's jump a couple years forward until Italian Renaissance. In the Republic of Florence, Niccolò Machiavelli explored the concept of pragmatism, which, as said before, is pretty close to Realpolitik. In his main work, The Prince, Machiavelli insists on the separation between morals and the state's interests. He introduces the ideas of fortune and virtue, qualities of a good and effective leader. It is all summarized by the expression, "the end justifies the means." Let's make another jump to the 19th century. The term Realpolitik was coined in 1853 by the German politician Ludwig von Rochow, referring to the situation that was developing in Germany during this time. In 1848, Germany saw a huge amount of revolt that led to the unification of German states. In this context of revolts and hard politics, the first real definition of the idea of Realpolitik was created. In his most famous writing, Grundsätze der Realpolitik, or Principles of Realpolitik, the author used the already existing German word Realpolitik to refer, literally, to practical politics. His idea also agrees with Machiavelli's The Prince on the idea of a strong and stable government for the well-being of citizens and the state itself. In the same period, Otto von Bismarck became an impressive statesman in Germany. In the second half of the 19th century, he dominated European politics as minister-president in Prussia and later as the first chancellor of the German Empire. The Iron Chancellor, as he was called, maintained Germany's prestige in Europe, using political skills first to unificate the German states, and then he provided the new empire with huge and fast growth by establishing the first welfare state in the modern world. Realpolitik is commonly associated to the figure of von Bismarck due to his ability to redesign European balance in order to preserve and increase Germany's role in the system of states. To achieve these goals, the Iron Chancellor used negotiation and pragmatism without disdaining alliances and compromises with his political enemies. Let's go from 1871 to 2016 in the United States. That year, Donald Trump's election was one of the most controversial events. Donald Trump has undertaken a path which can be summarized with his slogans.
We will make America great again.
His unstable relations with China and the European states are proof of his behavior that only focuses on the United States. Despite very controversial personal events, Donald Trump is one of the most influential people around the globe. In his speech to the UN General Assembly in 2017, Donald Trump said,
"We are guided by outcomes, not ideology."
This shows the idea of pragmatism, which is at the core of Trump's administration. Pragmatism in order to preserve and increase US prestige and power. All these ideas lead to a foreign policy marked by the return of Realpolitik, rather than on morals or ethical considerations like previous presidents wanted to show. Now that we have described our two political figures, let's try to see if they have similarities. We have stated the importance of Otto von Bismarck in the 19th century and his relevance in Realpolitik. In the case of Donald Trump, it might seem a little bit early to analyze deeply his politics and the impact he will have on the long run, as he is still in the second year of his first mandate as president. But still, we believe he is using ideas of Realpolitik in his administration. Let's take the first example. Otto von Bismarck led Germany out of a situation of weakness and instability. Germany was fragmented and many internal and external conflicts happened in the 19th century that damaged the German and Prussian historical prestige of both countries. On the other side, Donald Trump was elected in a particular time for the United States. His election showed that Republicans and the right-wing movement was on the rise in the United States, as it is now in Brazil and in some parts of Europe. In terms of international relations, his election also shifted the power relations between Europe, the US, and the rest of the world. The administration of Donald Trump brought a lot of instability. As he tries to push forward protectionism, the European Union has to rebalance its position in the world. Moving back to Otto von Bismarck, we can also match many of his behaviors with Donald Trump. First of all, pragmatism. His intention was to put the interest of the state above every other aspect. This Machiavellian attitude can be found in both terms of our comparison. With slogans like America First and Make America Great Again, we find perfect examples of the intention of Donald Trump to put the nation of America above anything else, which explains why he is so much for protectionism and why he withdrew from many international treaties. In the 19th century, Otto von Bismarck reached agreements with long-term enemies like Austria in order to promote Germany's role and to isolate France from the international context. Similarly, Donald Trump is trying to preserve and rebuild the United States' role as a strong America on the international scene by showing he's not flexible anymore. America wants to be important and re-establish the world order where the US is the main actor. Donald Trump shows his adherence to this vision by promoting America's independence and self-sufficiency, but also by imposing protectionist measures and establishing bilateral agreements with European and Asian powers. That is why we consider that Donald Trump and Otto von Bismarck are closely connected to the Realpolitik ideology. Both have taken their respective countries from a critical situation, and they have tried to impose a more favorable order by using the main tools of Realpolitik, pragmatism and the state's interests.